Hi, this is Jackie, and I'm just giving a look of what we've accomplished so far with our instructor interface dashboard. So if we start over here on the left-hand side, you'll see we've accomplished a drop-down menu of the course and the section. So we can find all the courses and those course sections here. So we can select a course, and right underneath, we have two buttons we can access. And within that course, we can look at assessment data, or we could look at resource data, which is like number of clicks using those resources. Now, as we select a course, what automatically happens is the course roster will then populate over here. So notice I selected this course. If I select another course, notice roster's changing. Select another course. Roster's changing. I'm going to go back to a course. And within the course roster, then you can select individual students in that class. Ultimately, I want to be able to sort the course rosters either numerically, that would be, right now they're student ID numbers, but ideally that would be alphabetically in the real world, or by failure rate, which is something we're working on as a team to calculate. So when I choose a selection from the course roster, I'm selecting an individual student. So if I, for example, choose this student in this class, and I want to look at assessment data, you'll notice now that our first visualization gets populated. And we have a side-by-side bar graph of the comparison of student scores and class averages. So if you notice, the student actually performed higher than the class mean for both of these assessments. Now, if I scroll down a little bit more, we have like a scale here. And the scale bar is going to show like how many days the course has been going for. How far along are you progressing in the course? So here it's kind of like after 60 days, we have two assessments. These are the assessment ID numbers. And if I advance it, maybe after 120 days, okay, now they've had 3 assessments. And we're kind of looking at the student performance compared to the class mean or the rest of the class. Something I'm working on right now is also trying to, in addition to get the mean, also getting the median and a visualization comparing median score with student score, because sometimes in education we like to look at the median of a class because it's more resistant to outliers and things like that. So underneath, we have a table, and in that table, what this will show are the statistics for that specific class that was chosen. And by statistics, they're like kind of like summary statistics. So in addition to the mean for all the assessments that you have, you'll also have maybe the median, the 5-number summary, max and min, standard deviation, IQR, things like that, quartiles. So as the course changes and you make your selections, and as you change your number of days, this table will then be populated with summary statistics. In addition to assessment data, we also can look at resource data, so number of clicks and things like that. So let's scale back our data here. Actually, maybe I'll go a little above 40. And instead of assessment, I'm going to click resources, and then it will change now to a side-by-side comparison bar graph of the student resource usage and then the average usage for the class. So those number of clicks that we're looking at. And these on our x-axis are the different types of resources. And then you see our sum clicks right here. So it kind of works the same way. One thing I'm working on right now that I haven't completely figured out yet is as I increase my number of days that the course is progressing, it takes a very long time to load when I want to look at the resources specifically. The assessment data is working really well, but because there's so much data for the resources, and as I increase the amount of time that we're looking at that data, it's going to take a really long time to load. So we might want to heed Toby's advice here and manipulate the actual data set that we're pulling in here to make it run a little faster. But again, the same thing would happen for the class, you'd look at the resource data and see summary statistics down here. Now, we also have kind of like the last piece here. After you select your course, and from the roster, you choose a student. So let me go back to assessment here. Let's look at more data. And I choose my student. Then we will have our table that we're going to be looking at things that I demonstrated in the sort of the visual design. So this I'm definitely still working on. So we would have things like the probability of failure for that student, the assessment scores for that student, the number of clicks, access for resources information for that student. And really we want to like look at the difference from the mean and median comparison to the standard deviation. So you're really trying to see how the student is performing based on a comparison with the rest of the class, the other students in that course. Okay, so that's kind of what this table will show. And again, it will change based on student here. And then in this final box down here, that's where the recommendations would go, depending on what we're seeing in the selected data in the table for the student. So looking back here, you know, how are they doing on their assessments? Are they accessing the resources? Are they above the mean? Are they below the mean? How many standard deviations above or below? Are they doing relatively well in the class? Are they not? And once we look at all that data, then we would return the text. So if you look at kind of the last piece here, our recommended actions would go in this text box based on student performance and kind of what we want to see. And how the teacher can then help the student, how the student can help him and herself do better, or how the teacher can better support the student. So that's my first look at the interface we have set up so far. I have the code, everything uploaded to GitHub so you can access it. Still have a lot of work to do with it, but I think ultimately this is really going to show a nice comparison of how students are doing in certain classes compared to those class averages and generally how the class is doing. And also the probability of failure predictions and kind of predicting students who are at risk or doing well, or you know what they should be doing better. That's where our supervised learning is going to be coming in as we build our model and make those predictions. So I hope this is helpful, and let me know if you have any questions.